All right, guys. So the other day, we had Gavin Newsom had on his podcast Ben Shapiro. Now, right off the bat here, let me just say, I hate it. I hate it. Now, if he had him on and the whole thing was like a vicious, bloody fight, then it would be okay. Then I'd be fine with it. But that's not what happened. He didn't have him on. It wasn't just a pure bloody fight. And this goes hand in hand with how Gavin Newsom was acting immediately as soon as Trump got back in the White House. What did Gavin Newsom do? He started this podcast, and he had sloppy Steve Bannon on his show to smack him around for a couple hours. Charlie Kirk came on to smack him around for a couple hours. You had Gavin Newsom saying, "Oh, my son loves your work, Charlie Kirk," which, by the way, total failure as a parent that your son is watching Charlie Kirk and getting indoctrinated into right-wing bullshit, and you're supposed to be a Democratic governor. But he also had on Michael Savage, who's like a disgusting far-right, fascist-ass right-wing radio host from like the Rush Limbaugh days, okay? This guy's been on the radio since like the late 80s or early 90s, okay? So clearly what Gavin Newsom was doing at the time was he thought, okay, well, I guess the country's more right-wing than I guess I want it to be, so I'll give the people what they want. I'll do the thing that was popular online in like 2018, which is like, we're having reasonable conversations, and we love having conversations about having conversations, and we're going to suck ourselves off for engaging. And it's like, enough already with this fucking 2018 podcast brain, like, you know, pretending you're some sort of a hero because you talked to somebody from the other side. It became so stale, so stupid, and he's just now doing that. So he has on Ben Shapiro. Like I said, it was not a brawl. It wasn't a hand job fest, but it definitely was like a pillow fight. Like there was too much time spent on like, oh, well, you're from California, and how did you like being raised here? And like, it was a little too chummy. And then when they disagreed, look, you got to call it like it is. Gavin Newsom has the ability to be a fighter. We saw him destroy Ron DeSantis on the debate stage on Fox News, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But ultimately, when it came to fighting Ben Shapiro, no, he was playing the beta role. He was. And so there are a couple clips that really went viral, which honestly, I really think destroy his chances in 2028. I don't think he's reading the room properly. I don't. So he has his Gavin Newsom's press office account, which is run by his staffers. By the way, I'd vote for the staffer who runs that account. That's who I'd vote for. I wouldn't vote for Gavin Newsom. I'd vote for the staffer that runs that account because they're fighters. They're fighters. They go to town against the right all the time. Whereas Gavin Newsom, what does he do? He throws his own account under the bus here to try to get along with Ben Shapiro. So we'll get to that clip in a little bit, but first let's get to Gaza and Newsom this is hideous. Let's watch.
It seems to have become a sort of de rigueur requirement for Democrats who are running for office to now suggest, for example, Scott Wiener just did this, he's running for Congress, that Israel committed a genocide in Gaza. That is, forget about anti-Semitism discussions of it, because I think that those have become really loose and people don't have a consistent definition of anti-Semitism. Let's just talk about what's true.
That's true. I think it's true about the definition. I mean, we, as you know, have been struggling with that in California as it relates to a lot of laws and legislation.
Of course, anti-Semitism is a fundamentally different cat than, for example, racism. It's basically a conspiracy theory about Jewish power in the world. And
it makes me sick to my stomach. And I say that clearly. And no, but not just of course. I mean, we've tried to lead in terms of our response, and we've called out and called balls and strikes in terms of the outrageous things that have happened.
So I would, in my own framework of anti-Semitism, I think that saying overtly false things about the Jewish state is a form of anti-Semitism. But I don't think that is really important as much as it is it true or not? So Democrats have now been dragged into this conversation, some dragged, some run with, flags waving, into the conversation.
This notion of genocide.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look,
Israel did not commit a genocide in Gaza. There's no standard by which Israel committed a genocide in Gaza.
Now, here's the point where if you're actually on the left, and if you're honest, you go, they absolutely did commit a genocide in Gaza, and it's not particularly close. That's the only acceptable answer, and the only acceptable path from here is to fight relentlessly against Ben Shapiro on this point and debate him into the ground. That's if you're actually on the left. Watch what Newsom does.
On a factual level.
Just as a legal and factual level.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of this?
My opinion is, I understand the tendency for people to make that, to assert that.
Why?
On the basis of the images and the proportionality. As it relates
doesn't
to
mean genocide.
No. And by the way, I agree with you.
And international and proportionality doesn't mean that if you kill my child and I then kill 7 criminals, that I've been disproportionate.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Just flush those chances right down the toilet, bro. That's it. It's over. It's a wrap. I would rather have Gavin Newsom be like openly and directly dead wrong than like do this weird thing where he's like, well, I understand where their feeling comes from, but obviously they're factually wrong. No, the fuck we're not. No, we're not. You know who thinks it's a genocide? Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, which is the top human rights group in Israel, Doctors Without Borders, UN Human Rights Council. The list goes on and on here. There's all these different, human rights groups and international law groups and different organizations. Of course it's a genocide. Why do we say that? How many fucking schools have been bombed? How many hospitals have been bombed? How many World Central Kitchen workers have been bombed? How many UN workers and UN buildings have been bombed? How many tent cities with refugees have been bombed? How many children have been sniped in the face? How many people waving a white flag got murdered? You had Israeli government officials coming out in the wake of October 7th and saying, we're going to cut off all food, fuel, water, and electricity into Gaza for 2.3 million people. Even knowing there's only 30 to 40,000 Hamas members, they said, we don't care. We're going to do collective punishment against over 2 million people. The definition of genocide, the actual death toll is hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. And Ben Shapiro's, well, just from like a factual perspective, it's not true. Says who? All you do is fucking Benjamin Netanyahu's propaganda. Are you kidding me? I'd be surprised if he wasn't a fucking double agent, Ben Shapiro. And here's Gavin Newsom. Well, I totally agree with you, but I understand where they're coming from, even though they're wrong. No, we're fucking right. We're right. You're wrong. God, the fucking insider brainworms. The Israel lobby insider establishment brainworms. We're sick of it. We're done with this. We're not the worst atrocity in our fucking lifetimes unfolded on a live stream in 4K, and you assholes are fucking gaslighting us as if it didn't happen.
But I understand that tendency on the basis of trying to reconcile the proportionate nature of how the war was ultimately conducted and the devastation.
I have a question. Why do you feel the need to create a permission structure for that sort of stuff? I mean, meaning it's not true. Yeah. Why not just...
I despise this weaselly little twerp, this wretched, repulsive, weaselly little twerp who has fully dehumanized innocent Palestinians. It's that old tweet of him saying, Israelis build shit, Palestinians live in sewage and bomb crap or something like that. This is how he thinks. He is a supremacist. Understand that. He is a Zionist supremacist. That's what he is.
Just say it's not true.
Yeah, look, I don't know the definition. I don't know the legal threshold. That's not my opinion, so I don't share that opinion as it relates to genocide. I do not agree with that notion. But
you do understand that if you...
Now notice what's happening here. He backs away, and Ben Shapiro's still fucking on his ass. Why would you even say you understand where they're coming from? How dare you say you understand where they're coming from? What are you talking about? What's wrong with you? And he's like, I agree. There was definitely no genocide. I agree. What is this? What is this, Gavin Newsom? God damn it. You're not going to fucking represent us. Again, he tries to be Mr. Everything to everybody. I'm going to be the fighter against the right. Look at my press office account, bro. I'm the crusader. I'll stand up to Trump. I'll go toe-to-toe with Trump. And then here he is backing down against Ben Shapiro on like a crucial issue where like every Democratic voter goes, that's a genocide. And here you are, well, I agree with the Republicans on this one. Now watch him beat my ass into the ground because I don't know anything about anything.
Use Israel of committing a genocide. That now puts Israel in the position of it should be a pariah state because states that commit genocide should be pariah states. Yeah. So granting legitimacy to that position inherently...
I'm not granting legitimacy. I'm just saying the devastation in Gaza at the human level. You've got 4 kids.
Of course it's terrible.
No, but I think it's also important to absorb that a little bit more. Just as it was sick and we were clear in our condemnation, these people like me, as it relates to what Hamas did in that act of barbarism and terrorism.
Yeah, that was crystal clear.
Look at the language when it comes to Hamas. That sick act of barbarism and terrorism. They would never in a million fucking years say that sick act of barbarism and terrorism when Israel killed all of those children. They would never say that. It's, perhaps they didn't get the right target and there was some collateral damage. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of these people. I'm so fucking sick of this groupthink bullshit.
And wartime collateral damage, of course. And if we refuse to acknowledge that.
What'd I say? I called it before I even saw it. Wartime collateral damage. Did we kill hundreds of thousands of innocents? Like 90% of them innocent civilians? Wartime collateral damage. Oh my God. Meanwhile, you have psychotic Israeli politicians who are openly talking about we're going to steal Gaza, we're going to build condos on the beach. You got Trump and Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff doing these like futuristic billionaire AI crypto run cities on top of the fucking skulls of dead babies. And they're having these big corrupt meetings over them. And here's, well, perhaps there was some collateral damage. Oops, we killed hundreds of thousands on purpose. I mean, by accident.
Collateral damage. I have stronger opinions. It wasn't just collateral.
Really? You think that Israel was targeting civilians?
I think Some of the double tapping
Didn't even answer.
issues. I have a lot of issues with how Bibi ultimately conducted the war. I personally do.
He literally can't even bring up any specifics. He can't even bring up a specific. Can't even say Hind Rajab, by the way. Can't even do that.
Issues that are also painted on the basis of the conversation I had when, a few weeks later, after October 7th, in the way he talked about the Palestinians. I kept talking about Hamas. He kept talking about the Palestinians. I kept coming back to Hamas. And then ultimately how the war was conducted. Not saying it was a genocide. I'm not.
Just go away. Don't even run. Just go the fuck away, Gavin. Greasy Gavin Newsom. How about this one? You thought that was bad. This is just as bad. At a time when ICE Gestapo thugs are rounding up innocent people, committing crimes, violating the Constitution on a regular basis, they're openly Trump's Gestapo. They're his paramilitary. They don't know the first thing about the law. They don't care about the law. They're there to terrorize. They're there to terrorize ideological opponents and black and brown people, okay, and queer people. That's what they're there to do. So Gavin Newsom's press account calls them terrorists. Ben Shapiro brings that up to Gavin Newsom's face. What does he say in response?
One was a narrative that was immediately pushed by the Trump administration and Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem that she was a domestic terrorist who was attempting to run over officers with her car and was legitimately trying, not just this officer, but multiple officers. That was the original statement. I said at the time, I thought that was untrue. And then your press office tweeted out that it was state-sponsored terrorism, which, I mean, Governor, I just have to ask you about that. Yeah. That sort of thing makes our politics worse. Yeah. I mean, it does. Yeah. I mean, our ICE officers obviously are not terrorists. Yeah. A tragic situation is not state-sponsored terrorism.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Oh my God. Just fucking, I'm so done with him. I'm sorry, bro. I am so fucking done with him. It is so over. Gavin Newsom is too scared to sit there and tell Ben Shapiro the truth. To sit there and say that this fucking illegitimate group that got created in 2003, by the way, all they're doing is mass kidnappings and abductions and human trafficking. They're blowing off court orders. They're denying due process. They literally didn't even know that if you take somebody, they have a right to an attorney. They didn't know that. They said like, oh, can you imagine if we had to let all of them see attorneys? That'd be chaos. Bro, are you kidding me? Up to 40 people have died in just Trump's second term because of these thugs. I'm not kidding about that. Literal criminals are joining ICE. They're assaulting 84-year-olds, senior citizens, tear-gassing babies, deporting a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer. The list goes on and on. Zip-tying children and putting them in the back of U-Haul vans. Running over people with cars. If you can't call a spade in this moment of all moments, you will never call a spade. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Gavin Newsom that vetoed universal health care for the state of California. He vetoed it. That's who this Gavin Newsom is. This is the same Gavin Newsom that's fighting tooth and nail against a billionaire tax in California. That's who this Gavin Newsom is. So he is lighting all of his chances for 2028 on fire. But you know what? Maybe we should thank him for going mask off so quickly. Sorry, we actually want a fighter. We want somebody who marries the energy and the vibe of the resistance liberals who hate everything about fucking Trump. Everything. We need to marry that with Bernie's policies of we're actually going to transform this country. We're going to tax the billionaires. We're going to go after the criminals in the Trump regime. We're going to lock them up is what we're going to do. And we're going to do Medicare for all and free college and a living wage. And we're going to end the wars. And we're going to do a Green New Deal. And we're going to end the corruption. And we're going to make sure we actually fix this fucking country from the ground up. Give people jobs. Give people education. Wipe out the student loan debt. Wipe out the medical debt. That's what we're going to do. None of this fucking mealy-mouthed bullshit where you cave to the right. Constantly, time and time again. We're so over that. Not even close, man. It's a wrap on this guy. I hope you all see it because this, to me, was, forget, his political relevance in my mind is shot after this. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.